I wish to call to order the September 13th, 2016 Edina Park Board meeting. The first item on the agenda is the roll call. Janet, would you please take roll call?
Yep. Member Struther? Member Miller?
Here.
Member Mose?
Here.
Member McCormick?
Here.
Member Good?
Here.
Member Nelson?
Here.
Member Gieseke?
Here.
Member Dowling?
Here.
Member McGauley?
Here.
Member Gustafson? Here. Member Hulbert?
Here. The next item on the meeting is to approve the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve tonight's agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the agenda's been approved. The next item is to approve the meeting minutes from the August 8th, 2016 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the meeting minutes are approved. The next section is community comment. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment? Okay. Mm-hmm. Hi.
My name is John Hamilton. I live at 6125 Beard Avenue South, which is 3 houses from Strackhauer Park. About 4 years ago, City Council suggested that the neighborhoods begin to form associations so that council and other bodies in the city could get feedback from those associations about what was going on in the neighborhood. Guilty as charged, we did it. And we're waiting for people to enlist us so that we can offer what we know about our neighborhoods and how they work. I've lived on 3 houses from Strackhauer Park for almost 30 years. So I think I know how the park is used probably as well as anybody else. And I'd like to say that I think it to me is a very unique place because the neighborhood is Strackhauer Park. If you look on the map, that's what it's called. It is the park is the center of our neighborhood. We don't have a school, we don't have a church, we have a park. And yet the park is not a neighborhood park at all. It's a regional park where kids come and play soccer. They just renovated our street and they narrowed the street and did a whole bunch of things because of the park so that it would slow traffic down coming to the park. But in talking to folks, people on the park side, we're talking to the people on the city side about narrowing the streets or putting the sidewalks in or about the park, how the park worked for the neighborhood. So we thought maybe we could be a resource, and we'd like to be, to help you understand how very important that park is to us and how we depend on it and need it to help our neighborhood grow and change. It is a changing neighborhood. I'm the old bald guy. I used to be the young kid. And now there's tons of new families there with little kids that need that park and depend on it for our association. So that's my piece, and I think some other folks are here that have some similar sorts of things they'd like to share.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Johnson. I live at 6119 Beard Avenue South. I also live 3 houses down from the park, and I frequent it at least 2 to 3 times a day with my 4-year-old and my 1-year-old. And I would also like to echo the sentiment that John spoke about. We'd like to be a resource. We'd like to partner with the park board or the city on anything that we can do to improve the park amenities and facilities that are there. But I would also like to express my concern and my disappointment in the way that the park is currently being maintained. There are weeds growing everywhere. Our facilities are very aged. There's paint that's stripped all over the play equipment. The shelter, as you know, is very old and dated. There have been some improvements this year to the roof and the siding, which was an improvement. But the maintenance of the park is poor. The condition of the park amenities and the facilities there is poor. And I would like just to bring it to your attention as you're doing your work plans and as you're doing your CIP improvements and thinking about priorities for the city. We'd like to see some love in our neighborhood. As John spoke, this is our neighborhood. This is where we go. This is where our kids play. And oftentimes I will walk to Chowan, which is 3 or 4 blocks away, to play because our park is not adequate for my kids and it's not safe for my kids in terms of the condition that it's currently in. So we would like to just bring that to your attention and hope that any planning in the future you do, you'd at least reach out to us as a neighborhood association and hope that you add that to your list of priorities. I know you have a lot through the city-wide, but we'd like to raise our profile in terms of your concern, as it's very much our concern. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Chris Bremer. I live at 6001 Ewing Avenue South in the Strackhauer Park neighborhood. I wanted to share with you some of the things that we've been doing with our park. Last fall, we had a day where we cleaned all the weeds out of all the cracks. We cut down all the horrible weeds with the burrs on them, and we cut down some other things and worked with the city to get a new bench, an extra picnic table, because we only had one. And they put new wood on a bench, and they trimmed some branches, which was nice. We have a plan to take out buckthorn this fall. Our neighborhood's adopted the park, and we've also worked on some. We also worked on some activities. This summer, we had 4 game nights at our park, twice in July and twice in August, where we brought croquet and cube and bocce to the park, and we set up games and beanbag toss and set them up, and got flyers out to the neighbors or emails out, and I did some of those activities. Of course, we had to find a little corner by the parking lot to set up the cube court or anything else, because most of the park is soccer. Which is fine. There's soccer and basketball, and we appreciate that. But we'd like to know more about when our playground is going to be fixed up, because it was on a CIP this year and it got pulled off. And also, we know our building, our warming shed. It's an old warming shed on a concrete pad that's been there for a very long time. This past year, it got a new roof. It got a really fancy new roof, much more than it needed. It just needed a paint job, really, which makes us worry about whether we're really going to get that new building, which was on the 5-year plan. It's just a building with no windows. There's restrooms that sometimes are open. There's not a single water fountain in our park, so John keeps his hose on in the summer so kids can fill their water bottles. And we have no place to meet in our neighborhood except each other's houses, because we have no church, no school, not even a restaurant. There are no buildings in our neighborhood except our houses and garages and that windowless warming hut. So we sure would love it if you guys could find a way to keep us high on the list for that new building, and also pay attention to how that park can be more for the neighborhood while still being a regional resource for kids playing games. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Okay, well, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. It's very nice to hear how integral the park is to your neighborhood. I think we all appreciate that. And now that we understand that, we'll take that under advisement as we're looking at our next year work plan, okay? Thank you. Okay, being that there's no other community comment, what I'd like to do next is introduce a few of our new members. And I'm going to ask them to tell us a little bit about themselves and where they live and why they wanted to be part of the park board. So I'm going to start with Trevor. So Trevor, if you would.
Thank you. A little bit more myself. I've been in Edina for about 6 years. I graduated college right before that. I'm very excited to be part of the Parks Board. Actually just have a 4.5-week-old right now. So very excited to help move the Park Board even further, of a great job that they've done to make it an even better park for our community.
Great, thank you, Trevor. We're happy to have you on the park board. And we also have our 2 new student members that are joining us for the first time this meeting. And so I would like them to introduce themselves as well. So Ben, would you like to start?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Ben Gustafson. I am a junior at Edina High School. I play lacrosse and football, and I am on the student newspaper. And I live by Lewis Park on Lanham Lane. And I wanted to be a part of the park board because I've grown up playing sports at the parks and being a part of their program, so I just wanted to be involved in the process of how the parks come to be.
Great, thank you, Ben, and we're very happy to have you. And Catherine, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm also a junior at Edina High School. I live on West Shore Drive by Cornelia Elementary School. I do Nordic cross-country skiing. I'm on the Model United Nations team. I referee kids soccer at all the parks, and so it's always been really important to me for seeing how the parks work, and I'm interested to see how the process here works.
Great, thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll go to our first agenda item on our reports and recommendations. And we are moving the agendas around a little bit. We're going to start with the Edina Baseball Association Brick Campaign.
Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Eric Betcher. I'm with the Edina Parks and Recreation Department, Recreation Supervisor. This is my second meeting in a row now, so good to see you guys here again tonight.
My name is Jeff May. I'm an 8-year member of the Edina Baseball Association.
We're here tonight. We're talking about Edina Baseball Association wants to try and go forward with Courtney Field's brick campaign. Just a little background information. Edina Baseball Association has a great history of contributing to Edina City Parks. The current campaign EBA would like to do would involve selling brick pavers to place along the wall at the concession stand, and this would allow community members to, be a part of history of the complex. I can have you guys see an actual brick of what they're looking at, and Jeff can kind of talk about some of the history of projects that they've done in the past.
So our most significant project was really a joint project between the city and Hennepin County, Hennepin County grants and the EBA. We contributed $100,000 toward the renovation of Garden Park and the addition of the batting cages there. That happened in 2013 and 2014. In 2014-15, we were able to secure a sponsor for the new scoreboard that is on Courtney Field 1. That was a contribution of $30,000. And we have just secured sponsors to move forward on 3 new scoreboards, one for Garden Park, one for Courtney Field 2, and one for Courtney Field 3. So we understand we've got some fantastic facilities, and we know with that comes an obligation to help contribute to those facilities. So here's a history of the most significant contributions to that effort. In addition, each year what we do, and this is also part of teaching the kids, each year we do a field day, and each of the travel teams are assigned a certain field within the city of Edina, and we work with several of the city staff, and we spend the day working on the fields, whether it's trimming weeds or dragging the field or bringing in ag lime or repairing fences. But it does a couple things. It gets the fields ready for the spring, but it also helps teach the kids that they've got an obligation to help maintain the facilities, because they realize when they go travel to some other communities, they are really fortunate to be able to play on fields as good as we've got, and it helps them realize how fortunate they are. So what the campaign Eric's going to talk about is just another step in this progression of understanding we've got some great facilities, and we want to help share in the cost of improving those facilities.
So the proposed brick project that we're looking at now would be at Courtney Field's concession building. It would be kind of by Field 1. So if you look up on the screen, kind of has an idea of where this is going to be. So it would be on the back of the concession stand, and it's about a total area of 9 by 9. And it's something that we could do to enhance the park and give it some character. And it's just another opportunity for EBA to have community members, get involved. Kind of the project overview, there's a couple different options that EBA looked at. This option was to do that portion. They would do one of 3 options, and it's basically the different brick sizes would amount to a different amount of revenue brought in. So the brick that's being passed around right now, that's the 4x8 brick. That would be one option, or you could do that in conjunction with the 8x8 brick. So those are the options they were looking at, and then they also had a 12x12 brick option. So you can see kind of the money that they would raise. The 4x8 would be $125. So it's a good amount of money, but it's still inexpensive for people to get involved, and then all the way up to 500. So by doing this would help EBA raise some funds to help us with some of the field improvements. Kind of the phases of the project would be kind of a 2-phase. If we could start this project this fall, we would sell brick pavers, or EBA would sell brick pavers to get those orders in, and then we would do that first phase in 2017, and then continue the fundraising through next summer and next fall with the goal of completing the phase 2 in 2018. And just to note that EBA and the Parks and Recreation Department, when we do these projects, we're lucky that our park maintenance staff has been able to help with some of these projects. When they can do some of the work, they will. But if they're not able to, then EBA has been great at hiring a contractor to come in and do some of those things. So it's really a good partnership that we have working with EBA to do these type projects. So kind of the project timeline we're looking at is to kind of kick off the fundraiser this fall, complete phase 1, and then continue fundraising with the idea of being able to complete the project by 2018.
Just to give you a little sense of what the end point of all this is, it's not just to make sure we've got some money in the bank. If you look at Courtney Fields, they are by far top echelon of fields in the area. But the lighting system there was put up 25 years ago. And as you travel other communities, you see the difference in lighting technology from now as to what was there 25 years ago. And while it's adequate on the smaller fields, on the large field, the lights just do not do what they need to do anymore. They have become more dim over time, and also they're just not bright enough to meet the quality of play there. So our goal is to do 3 things at Field 1, or at Courtney. One is to replace the lights on Field 1. One is to improve the netting. If you've ever been to games down there, you'll know balls will get hit from field to field. So we'd like to put up some safety netting that would protect the players in the other fields from balls coming from opposite fields. And then we also will need to replace and repair the batting cages down there. So that's the end point here. $60,000 isn't going to do it. Between this and some other fundraisers, we hope to get to $100,000, and then, just like we did with the Garden Park project, secure some outside Hennepin County grant or other foundation money to help finish off the project. We will be the host facility for the 2018 Legion State Tournament, so that also is part of the thought behind the timing here. But we need improved lighting. We could use it today, but we understand it takes a while for all this to come together. Any questions?
Yeah, Member Miller here. A couple questions. One is do these fit over the existing brick structure that's there?
Yes, our plan right now will be we will secure those with an adhesive right over the existing brick.
Okay, and any reason why you would limit it to just one side of the building? I mean, I can't see the other sides, but does brick go all the way around? Is there opportunity to?
Yes, we've identified a number of other sites. we're trying to be modest in our expectations now. If we fill that wall, that'd be fantastic. If response is overwhelming, we've looked at the backs of a couple of the dugouts, and then the wall facing field 2 would also work. So
Okay.
there are a number of other surfaces we can get to if this is successful.
Good. And then you had option 1, 2, 3. Are you trying to decide between just one of them, or is it a combination so you can put up various patterns?
Oh, between the brick sizes?
Correct.
Yes. So we expect it to be a combination of those 3 sizes depending on the donor's preference.
Okay. Terrific. Well, I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea, not only because it self-funds, but it allows the community to actually have some ownership and some pride in the facilities. I mean, great idea, I think.
Thank you. Any other questions?
A question and a comment. Question is, you talked about the additional facility pieces. Is there other spots within the Courtney Field complex, say like the batting cages, or are you trying to limit this, assuming we'll just go piece by piece, first to field 1, then field 2, or if a donor wanted to have something specific to a specific area, and then I'll get to my comment. My comment is my dad's a past baseball board member. I'd be the first one to sign up for this program in his honor, and I want it on the batting cages because he built those batting cages when he was president. So
Great.
that's my question and my comment.
Okay, can I get your phone number after this meeting? Yes. Again,
Might as well get a check right now.
we can move as far along as donor support will take us. But as you can see, the needs are significant, and we'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Question. So I know you have 2 different times where you're selling the brick pavers. Will they be put up all at once, or what's the idea of how they'll be assembled?
Yeah. Yes, the plan is to put them up in, let's say, in groups. So we don't want to burden the staff by asking them to go do this every 2 or 3 weeks. So what I would imagine is maybe every 3 or 4 months, we'd sell for 3 or 4 months, buy those bricks, and then put them all up at once. It'll also help us make a more attractive pattern on the wall.
Right, and you might want to do some sort of dedication time where you're putting them up so you could have the people who donated come. I know I've seen that before with
Good point.
These types of activities. And then my second question was just, I noticed on the brick, there's a relatively large, that must be the engraving company. Is that how it will look?
No, this is just a sample. What will be on the final bricks will just be the name of the sponsor.
I have one question for you. So you mentioned there's 3 different things and they total to 100,000. So if this raises the fund you're looking for, how much is the actual, just the lights?
Just the lights will be approximately $250,000.
Okay, thank you.
A question about who you're looking to market this to. Is it primarily, do you think, the baseball community and current park board members here, or do you go much broader than that? And if so, how do you do that?
Our target for the brick campaign will really be EBA families. Our target for larger donations, whether it's scoreboard sponsorship or maybe larger contributions towards the lights, that might include people outside that or businesses.
Okay.
But this will be targeted to EBA families.
And how many families approximately in the EBA community?
We have about 1,000.
1,000? Okay, good.
Well, 1,000 participants, so maybe
Participants,
700,
okay, so it's
800.
a little bit fewer. Thanks.
We do. We have contact records that go back about 5 or 6 years, so we'll reach out to them as well.
You mentioned individual families, but will businesses also be able to purchase a brick? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I would only make one comment, that adhering brick to additional brick can be a difficult thing to do right with our winters and moisture and water. And so I would flag that if it's the park board staff that is taking on this task, that it can be more complicated than you initially anticipate.
Thank you. Fair comment.
Right, and Ann, so Ann, do you have any concerns with the maintenance of this particular initiative?
I don't. One of the things that I've always appreciated about Jeff and the Baseball Association is his vetting of ideas and projects and his vetting of these projects with our park maintenance staff. And I know that they are on board with this. Our staff is on board with this, and we greatly appreciate the long-term partnership that we've had with the Baseball Association.
Okay, and do we need to make a motion to approve this item?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions before I ask for a motion?
Yeah, maybe just, Ann, a question for you. I mean, I look at this and say, well, who wouldn't want someone to walk in and say, we've got a great idea to raise money? So as a board, when we approve something like this, what other aspects should we be thinking about considering before we just say, yes, bring us some money, we'll help?
You know, that's a great question, and I had that same question myself, to be honest. This is a new type of project for us, and that's one thing that I wanted to make sure that the board realized. I think that a paver project is a very good project. It's a great way to raise money. It's tastefully done. It's in a great location with great benefit to the city and to the Baseball Association. So I do feel like this is a win-win. I feel like we've talked about, even as part of our strategic plan, we've talked about different fundraising types of activities, and a paver project was one that we talked about as part of the process. So I do feel very good that this is a standard and typical way to recognize and receive funds for different parks and recreation facilities. And I could see it being something that we could potentially utilize at other facilities in the park system as well.
And maybe just to kind of build off of that, whether for this or for other projects, has the city ever thought about doing any kind of a matching process for these types of donations?
Where the city budget would actually match?
Would match some of it, whether it's 25 cents on a dollar or 50 cents on a dollar or 10 cents on the dollar, something else that shows, I mean, this is obviously enhancing and improving our park facilities. So is there a way that the city might also think about kicking something in?
Yes, absolutely, and that has been part of our conversation all along. Our goal would be, as Jeff mentioned, to apply for a Hennepin Youth Sports Grant. We tend to be most successful with these types of grants when we have a partnership. And in an ideal situation, we would have money from either the city budget or the city capital budget to be able to partner with a potential donation from the Baseball Association, and then funding from, say, the Hennepin Youth Sports Grant or the Twins Community Fund, something like that. So I think it is very possible that we could do something like that in the future.
The Garden Park project is a perfect example of that, between the city, EBA, Hennepin County Parks, and then the Twins Community Fund. All four of those organizations help pay for that entire project.
Sorry, I had one more question. It's a little tangential, but talking about improving the park with these bricks and things like that, question I had is there any talk about bringing back the display of the 83 Legion team from the concession stand that was part of the old concession stand? And or are they going to be part of this brick, or something to be said for these bricks to that team, as well as the Jerry Engstrom Award that was given away a long time ago? I don't know how long it's been since it's been not given anymore to the best 12-year-old or the one that shows the most exemplary sportsmanship, but is there an opportunity here to do something with those things as well for the 700 kids that are coming through your program?
Well, we do have inside the concession stand is the tournament bracket from the national championship and a number of photos and the trophy from that tournament. When we hosted the state tournament a couple years ago, we did have a 25th anniversary reunion of that team, but we may find another good reason to bring them back when we host the state tournament.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Dan?
Just a thought. Is there anyone have any thoughts on, is there any negative to this? Are we setting a negative precedent in any way? Is there any aesthetic issues? If another association comes, likely if this is successful, it might happen that way. And is this a path we want to tread down? Are we comfortable with it? Any comments to that effect?
maybe a question along that lines is, I don't know if we maintain in the park board any type of design rule book. But if, to Dan's point, if people just start doing whatever they want just to raise money, then we might get a little off kilter. So I don't know if we have anything like that for the parks.
No, we don't. It's a good point, but that is definitely why when we talked about this from the beginning, I said we need to run this by the park board, because I had the exact same concern. I think that it's a great idea. I see it as something that could be replicated in another park or another facility, but I think it's really important that it be done tastefully. So I would expect that anytime we would have another similar request, that we would bring it to the park board for your review and approval. At least this first time as well, we are going to be taking this to the city council for their approval as well, because it is something new. We've never done it before. But absolutely, I think that's a really, really great point, because that's exactly the way I felt about it too. We want to make sure that in a way we are setting a precedence that we will allow it, but I think it has to be done tastefully and in a way that we all agree would be successful and a positive amenity for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Is this an opportunity to look at our branding for the park and for the city? We've talked about that as a strategic goal for us. Is this an opportunity to take a closer look at that?
I'm always interested in looking at how we can improve the branding for the Parks and Recreation Department. I'm just not sure exactly how you are thinking of it in relation to this project.
Simply like if we're looking at branding and signage and a style, that maybe this would be an opportunity to take a look at that and make sure it fits.
Sure, absolutely. No, that's a really good point. And as we get into the final design, we can certainly talk about that. And as Susan and I are in the process of starting to kick off our park signage project, we're talking about that a lot. So I think that as we get into the design of these signs with the park board, it's going to fit in very nicely with what Dan is mentioning.
And just to kind of dovetail off the last two comments from the members, we talked when we were finalizing the golf project about dedications within the golf. Is this the opportunity with this and the golf to put kind of what Member Miller was talking about, some guardrails around what dedications look like within our facilities so that we have kind of a jumping off point? As I think we all agree that probably makes sense at other facilities, but is that something as we get into the further discussion on the agenda then about the work plan, something along those lines?
It certainly could be something that the park board could look at if you'd like to.
Yeah, Matt, I think it's a good idea. I think we should discuss if we want to add that as a work item for next year.
The only last thing I was going to mention was, in terms of as we continue to talk about the new, but then we also talk about the maintenance, whether it's their park or any other parks, making sure we have the maintenance plan built in. So if by chance the weather is bad and something happens to a brick, that we make sure that we have some form of a maintenance and upkeep, whether it happens this winter or in 20 winters, that we make sure that when they're all crumbling down, what's the plan of attack on that? Do we wait till they all crumble, or what does that, what does that look like in terms of ongoing maintenance of that?
Okay, we can work through that with staff.
Sounds like a future fundraising opportunity to me.
Okay, other comments or questions? I think the discussion's been really helpful. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So move. I'm sorry. I'd like to move that we go ahead and go forward with this pavers at the Courtney Fields to raise money and then hopefully partner with the city as well as other grants to fund the 3 things they've listed for the park.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so it passed.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the 2016 work plan update. And I asked to have this on the agenda so that we were grounded on where we were with our 2016 items before we discussed the 2017 work plan. So if we turn over to the work plan, one thing I wanted to thank all of the members is we've made a lot of really good progress this year on our work plan items, and that's because of all the dedication that each of you have put forth on those that you've been assigned, and a couple of them will extend into 2017. But overall, I think we've done a nice job on the work plan items. So Initiative 1 is complete. That's the Roslyn Park Initiative.
And I just happened to be walking by there yesterday and to take some pictures while I was there too. But the date, I think, is has already started because it is not the 19th, and it has already, they had a lot of excavators there yesterday and moving a lot of stuff. So it was really exciting. I literally took like 4 or 5 pictures.
That's great, thank you. And then Initiative 2, that's our Fred Richards Park Master Plan. I know that's just kicking off, so Ann, if you have an update.
I do. Eileen participated in our first round of interviews for Fred Richards Master Plan consultants this afternoon. We put out an RFP in August, and we received 7 submissions. So we're interviewing all 7 firms that applied for our position. And second interviews are on Thursday afternoon. We hope to make a selection with feedback from our committee by the end of next week. And the goal would be to ask for Park Board recommendation at the meeting in October, and then City Council approval of that consultant selection at their second meeting in October. Once we kick off the project, I would expect we'll start almost immediately. In hearing and from consultants and reading proposals, I would expect that process to take somewhere between 6 and 10 months. So I know that's a little bit of a wide range, but depending upon the process, depending upon the type of feedback we receive from neighbors, it's a little bit of a difficult time for us to be doing a master planning process over the winter. We want to make sure that we don't miss residents who might be out of town for part of the winter, so that could extend it a little bit farther. That's why we have the range from 6 to 10 months at this point.
Any questions on that particular initiative? Okay. The next initiative, number 3, is our signage replacement plan. And Susan, I believe you have an update on that.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to say that we do have an update on the progress of our signage project. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process. So I think this is an initiative that will carry over to the 2017 work plan, but there is some work yet that we're going to do in 2016. So we talked, Ann and I, and with City Manager Scott Neal, to talk about the process. So we're going to look at staff selecting the designer. And we are hoping to receive some proposals from some different companies at the end of this week. We've directly reached out to 4 or 5 companies. Ann and I, over the last few weeks, have met with all of them. Talked a little bit about the project, provided an overview, and we're really excited about potentially what we're going to get back here at the end of the week. After we have those proposals, we're going to work with our staff team, include our Park Board committee members who have agreed to be on that, include Park Maintenance, our Communications Department, and someone from our administrative team to look at some of the different design options that our designer is going to prepare for us. And then following that, I think when we have a design that the group wants to move forward to Park Board, we'll involve all Park Board members on getting their feedback, recommendations, and then next step would be taking it to City Council for final approval.
Okay, good. Thank you, Susan. Any questions on the project?
The design review, you're just talking about the designs, correct?
Correct, yep.
So when will we get also an understanding of cost? Because going to the council and saying, we really love this design, but it's $6 million.
I guess that's an important part. So we'll be getting we'll do the design. We'll look at the different types of signs that we want to include in the project, our informational signs, some like regulatory signs, and then we'll price it out to see what we can actually afford with the budget that we have, and then we'll have to go through the open bid process for implementation and fabrication of the signs.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments or questions on this initiative? Okay, thank you, Susan. The next initiative that we had was the Grandview facility planning, and again, that is complete. So good result on, or at least we finished it. Don't have an end result yet, but. And then initiative 5 is the analysis of the current programs and the cost recovery. And Greg, I think that's completed, right? That was done several months ago, right?
Everything you needed on that.
Yep. The next item is the marketing communications delivery review. And I believe that one is moving into next year, right, Susan? Or do you have an update on that one?
I do have a bit of an update.
Okay.
So we have kind of launched the Edina to Go in coordination with our park maintenance and our city works. So right now, residents can report any issues, problems that they are seeing in the parks, and then our park maintenance team can respond. I think so far, since we included our parks, we've had like 87 total issues that have been reported, and like 95 of them have been high weeds. But it is in process, it's working very well, and we're hoping to continue to expand it.
Susan, I have a question on that one. Is that a place that maybe an opportunity that we partner better with the associations and make sure that they are aware that this Edina to Go exists for them to put their comments into? I'm not sure how much that's been shared out in terms of across the associations or the city as a whole, but to utilize this as a good method.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's opportunities. I know Eric Betcher will be meeting with our associations in the annual meeting this fall, and we'll make sure that they have that information.
Yeah. Especially this particular park.
Yep.
And I would add as well that, and I apologize if Susan mentioned this, but this just rolled out at the end of June, beginning of July this year. But completely agree, we need to do a better job of marketing to our residents to let them know that it's available. So for you park board members too, if you haven't downloaded the app, it's Edina to Go. And we are very, very pleased with the report a problem for park maintenance. There are a significant number. We met with our park maintenance staff and said, give us anything that you get a complaint, concern, issues that you have, and those are all listed as options to report an issue. So we're very pleased with it.
Great, I think that's a really great ad for us. Now, how do we get back to the residents that have posted something, or is there a process to let them know, thank you for your comment about the weeds, or how does that work, Susan?
Do you want to answer that one, or do you want me to?
It is, it's through a program that we have in our Public Works and Park Maintenance Division, and it's the exact same program that we've been utilizing for the last couple of years for Report a Pothole. And so it's a work order program, and it gives us the ability to complete, to update, and to respond to residents right from the work order program. So they do get feedback as to the response and the result of the report a problem that they submitted.
And is there a time frame that they would get, like is it, you'll hear a response within 48 hours, or do you know how that works?
I guess I'm not entirely sure, and maybe you know, but I would assume it's going to be 24 hours to get back to the resident. It may not be resolved at that point, but at least to explain what the solution is going to be, or what the next steps will be.
Do we have a marketing plan in place? Or it's just a soft launch, it's still kind of in beta, if you will, and we'll be doing marketing once we're a little bit more robust?
A marketing plan for the Edina to Go app, or just in general?
Yeah, I'm just thinking completely spitballing off the top of my head, but, it's located in the Android and the iOS store and the Apple store, so I'm assuming, do we have a spot on the web page where people can go and download it? Is it go in every email that we send to our residents, besides the association? Does the people at the senior center know that this is available, or maybe this people from the Strachauer Association, if they would have had that, information? And I'm just wondering, in this near term, is there a marketing plan built out for the app?
There is not, I don't think, not within the Parks Department. The Communications Department did, when they launched Edina to Go over a year and a half ago, I think it has been, I'm sure had a more formal marketing plan. We don't, but I think it's a great idea. I think we probably need to incorporate something like that to make sure that people do know that it's out there and that it's an option.
So Susan, would that be something that we would get our team together and just talk about some brainstorming ideas to provide back? Because I think some of them could be very simple, the way Matt mentioned, is just in every email that comes out, if there's just something at the bottom that said you could download this, or if they went to the website, if there was some place that told them about it, right?
Yeah, and I think there is a place on the website that you can download it, but I think maybe that would be something that we could add to kind of the marketing initiatives on the item that's potentially going to be on the 2017 work plan. If you'd be open to that, I think it's a great idea and I think we need it.
This might be one of the times we talk about what the opportunity is for us to cross-pollinate between the two groups, the communication and then the park board. I don't know if there's a working session opportunity or something to that extent, because I know we've talked, at least I know I've talked on several different times about how do we communicate in the different social medias that exist, so then we as park board members can share it out too, but making sure that we're using the same language. So it might be a good opportunity to partner with, I don't know if the communications team has a get together, but it might be something that we can collaborate with.
I think we can talk about that when we do our marketing. Sounds good. Okay, other comments, questions on this initiative? Okay, the next initiative is our Engage External Resources to Provide Environmental Programming. And I believe we took one step forward with this with our pollinator education series, right, Susan? So we, in a way, combined 7 and 8 this year. There's probably more we can do if we want to on this, but we did partner with Three Rivers Park District on the pollinator garden. And any feedback on how that was received, Susan?
Yeah, I think overall the feedback was good. Unfortunately, we didn't get to plant a lot of the pollinator species until spring, so they weren't really they weren't developed by the summer programs. But I think definitely we want to continue to include some nature-based pollinator programs as part of our playground programs moving forward. And I think Pamela Park is a great location, since we've already done some plantings last spring, and we also plan to add some this fall.
Okay, good. Any questions or comments on that one? And then Initiative 9 was the multi-year playground renovation plan. Any update on that?
Yeah, we will start next month.
Okay, good. Those were all our items from fiscal year 16. And so our next item on our agenda is to look at our 17 work plan. This will go to the City Council at the end of this month, so we do want to finalize this today if we can. So just move forward to that. These are the items we talked about at our last meeting. And one was the Arden Park Natural Resource Plan. So I think we would still keep that on there. Yep. Any comments or anything new to add to that, Anne, or is it pretty much the same initiative that we talked about last time?
It is. I think I added just a little bit more text on this section, but it's exactly as we discussed at the last park board meeting.
Okay, great. The next initiative is really a continuation of the marketing initiative we had this year, but with a focus as well on the website and specifically around the activity directory and how we can make sure that's more user-friendly, especially from the sign-up process. And Matt, I know you've got a couple ideas on that, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, as one of the things that was asked, and I've worked with Brenda here a little bit over the last couple of days to kind of put this together, but I think I'd like to know more about what the communications department, the city's got planned. I think it would be really important for us to kind of work in coordination with them. I guess maybe it was a little bit of a loaded question when I asked about the marketing plan for the app, but I think there's just a lot of stuff that we can use and, partner with internally if we have that communication or have that accessibility or visibility to what other departments are working on. I think it would be really helpful. So I think there's that piece of this. I think the other piece of this is as a resident and as a person that uses the parks for the pool for my family to swim, or my son just signed up for soccer at Cornelia through the Park and Recs department. How do we take the next iteration of that registration and have it become a much more streamlined experience and very user-friendly, and something I think we would all be really excited about. So I think those are the things I want to vet out, or I propose that we add in underneath the overall probably statement here, and I'd be more willing to lead that initiative, or hopefully people will help me with it too.
And then we'll add the marketing of the Edina to Go initiative. And anything else, Susan?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think there will be a great opportunity for park board members to get involved with communications project of the redesigning of the website, especially as it relates to the Park and Recreation page or our site. Some suggestions that you've provided, Matt, and I also, we've heard from other residents that sometimes it's a little challenging finding the right information. You may have to know where to look. So that's where we're really going to want your feedback on when communications kind of gets to that point where we're really looking at each department. How do we want that, or what information do we want? We'll be really looking for your feedback, so that would be really helpful.
And not to get in the weeds, where are we at with that? Is it an RFP process right now? Do we have a digital agency that's going to be doing that work, or?
Yep, they just completed, and Kaylin, jump in here at any point. The RFP process, I think submissions were due September 1st. So there are 7 or 8 companies, I believe, that that the city's gonna bring in to interview. Hoping to select a company to work with by the end of 2016, and then the timeline for the project is next year. So it's on the 2017 work plan for communications.
And do you guys have a seat at that table for that decision and interview process?
Yes, we do. Yep, we have a couple staff members that will be included in that.
Okay, any other comments on the marketing? Did we miss anything else we wanted to add to that initiative?
I guess I'd like to be included in that one as well. I think in addition to just the marketing plan, just to understand what the ongoing connection is. So whether it's, even if it's nothing that's new that's coming out, but we make sure we have an ongoing understanding of how we're telling the community about different events or different things that are going on, and the timeliness at which it happens as well.
Okay, sounds good. The next initiative is the Braemar Park Master Plan. And so I'm going to turn that over to Anne to give us a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Brenda. As you all are aware, we had a very robust hearing, with a public hearing with the City Council last Tuesday night. It was an agenda item that lasted over 4 hours. We had about an hour of, well, it was about 20 minutes of a presentation, followed by 40 minutes to an hour of council questions. And then we opened it up to public hearing and had about 2 hours worth of resident comments. It was a great meeting. It was a great discussion. And then afterwards, the city council asked more questions of staff and our consulting team, and then spent quite a bit of time discussing amongst themselves and deliberating. And so I felt like it was a great meeting. It was a great public process. The result essentially was that the council did not support the Braemar Winter Recreation Plan as proposed, but they were very enthusiastic about the feedback and all of the enthusiasm from both sides that we heard from residents. And the city council took a great amount of time and great amount of care in reading every bit of correspondence that had been received throughout this entire process. And they worked really hard to read those and take the points that were in common on both sides. And what really struck them was that people were really generally interested in using Braemar for a year-round recreation destination for more than just golf. And so what the city council decided finally, I don't have a final motion for you this evening. It was a fairly complicated motion, and I don't like to state motions until the city council has an opportunity to approve that motion. But essentially, the city council was very much in favor of staff and the park board moving forward with a master plan of Braemar Park, which we had already intended to do in 2017. We actually do have funding in our professional services budget for that. And they wanted to make sure that we did not include machine-made snow as part of the project, but they did want us to consider including cross-country ski trails, sliding hills, specifically on the Academy 9, snowshoe trails, walking trails, single-track mountain bike trails, extensive buckthorn removal throughout the park, and capital and operating financials with funding in 2017. So we felt that it was a very good result. We were very, very happy with the amount of feedback we received throughout the entire public process. And I know that staff is very much looking forward to working on a master plan of Braemar Park in 2017.
Okay, great. Any questions for Anne about this initiative? Okay.
Excellent result. I think that was a nice display of the public process coming to a reasonable consensus, you know, so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really great park. So we just need to spend the time now on the work plan. Okay, initiative, the next initiative, which is a continuation of the 16 initiative on the Fred Richards Master Plan. We had an update already on that, so I think we're good, but any additional questions on the 17 plan?
Maybe not get this turned on, not specifically a question on that, but two things. First of all, to go back to Braemar for a moment, do we want to get names on that now, tonight as well?
Yeah, good question, Greg. So what I was thinking is we'll finalize this list. Everybody can think about it.
Okay.
And then at our October meeting, we'll sign up for the activities that we'd
fine.
like. Does that sound okay?
Yep. And then maybe perhaps this was covered at the last meeting, but there's a new box on here with council charge. What's the indicator there for 1, 2, 3, 4 on council charge?
Shoot, I didn't bring my cue sheet with me. But essentially, it is different levels of approvals that the city council would like to have the park board take action. So it could be a full approval that doesn't need any further city council action. It could just be advise, it could be review and comment. So those are the different, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact terminology in front of me, but the city council wants to be clear with the boards and commissions on exactly the type of action that they would like you to take. So they'll be reviewing, we're making a recommendation here, and they'll be reviewing and approving that as well.
So is that information, that charge queue coming directly from the council, or is that staff involvement, or how does that originate?
We, between Susan and I, we have made a recommendation here, and the council will review it and approve it or change it.
Okay, great. And then the last item is the park signage replacement project, which we updated with the 2016 work plan. It'll be a continuation into next year. Any questions on that one? Okay, so that's what we decided on last meeting. Are there any other additional items that we would like to add? For instance, I know today we have the paver program, so maybe a donation, philosophy or guideline. We might want to work on that. So, thoughts?
I have one that's more of a, I don't know if it's an initiative, but more of an understanding, and we've talked about it before, but I think it would be good for us to, as a park board, to have better visibility to what the maintenance plan is, or how we go about making sure that every park that we currently have is continuing to have maintenance. So in terms of which fields are being checked out and how that looks like, I think it would just be, at least for myself, it would be good to just have that as a point of reference of what that process is and how are we being queued up for which parks are being replaced next and what the timelines are. So as a park board member, I can answer the questions when people ask me those. I don't know if that's really so much of an initiative, but I think it would be good to have some form of, maybe it's an agenda item we add on a regular basis, just in terms of staff updates. It would be helpful for me, at least, I would think.
And I would agree with what Member Nelson said. I'd also ask, is there a possibility to that list to add, and maybe this is what she was referring to, but construction items as they come up? So the example I would use is I've had friends that learned to skate at Normandale Park, and that rink has been torn down, and so they didn't know if they weren't replacing it, or if, I'm assuming it's just being torn down and the board's being replaced, but I don't know where to find that. And as a new member, I don't know if that exists. If it does, just tell me where it is. If not, is there a possibility to add that kind of information to that list too?
Most definitely, and it would be my opinion that that wouldn't be a park board work plan item, because that's something that staff would be providing information to. But that is something definitely that we could start to work on in the future, is providing more maintenance updates to the board, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so we can add that to the staff comments going forward. Okay.
Would that also be something appropriate to the, the digital communication, the Edina to Go app, where there's, just like MnDOT has, coming up is Highway 100 southbound closure. Would there be coming up is going to be this, that, or the other thing in the parks also?
We could certainly consider that on the Edina to Go app, and we do have a projects page on our website too, which I know might not always be the easiest thing to find for people, but that would be something that we could do a better job of updating maintenance projects on our project page as well.
I think social media updates on like road closures and other things like that, and it would make sense to include the park updates as well in that, especially for larger things like tearing down a hockey rink.
One question I have that ties into the fundraising and the possible plan, or at least guidelines for that. I noticed, and I'm not really too familiar with this initiative, but the City Council said remove Initiative 8, Fundraising Friends of the Parks. And I don't know enough about that to understand if we're trying to reintroduce that in a slightly different way, or if that was something completely different. This is in the 2016 Park Board work plan at the very end.
I can tell you, I do have a specific recollection of that item. We did have a park board member at the time that was interested in taking that initiative on. And as you all know, our park board work plan was really big in 2016, and the City Council was a little bit concerned about the number of items that were on the work plan, and that is a really, really large initiative, and they wanted to make sure that if we were going to undertake something like that, that we had the resources with which to be able to do it. So it might be something that if there are any interested board members in the future, we might want to take that on again, but that is specifically why. And the member that had suggested it had a very brief period of time remaining on the board as well. So that was another issue that we had with that particular item.
But it's different than providing the guidelines to what we would consider for a donation. That was actually going and doing the fundraising ourselves. So.
Okay.
Yep. So should we add a donation kind of fundraising guidelines to provide some parameters for us as we consider different options?
I think it makes sense.
Okay. Does everybody agree? Okay. So we'll add that. Any other items that you feel we're missing or that you'd like to work on? Or
I'd ask that we get some concrete plans or some feedback from the council with that particular item, because we've done some work on that donation policy in the past, and they're going to want to weigh in. I think the direction of that at the time was with Ellen Jones, Member Jones, and we were looking at Friends of the Park. You know, I was just in New York City. Central Park has a conservancy, and all the great park systems have some kind of fundraising, arm or mechanism. And I think it might be prime time for us to do that and take a look at it and see how that might work. But it has to work in conjunction with what we did before in the citywide donation policy. So I think we need some parameters with that. So.
I mean, we do have quite a few really large projects for next year, so I'm not concerned at all that we have less number, because I think the time commitment's going to be quite heavy for our members. So it feels reasonable to me.
I would go back to what Member Miller asked at the last meeting we met in August, if we could ask the City Council for some prioritization around what their input would be based off of what our work plan. I think that would be very helpful for us as we start to dial in some of these larger things and kind of work our way towards some of the things that they're looking for within those larger initiatives.
Yep, that's a good idea. And I also think we will need some staff time, and so it'll be dependent on when they're able to assist with the projects as well. So. Okay, so I think that wraps up the 2017 work plan. And our next item, we move to correspondence and petitions. And that was the City Council update that was included in the packet. Anything in addition that you'd like to add to that before we move on? The next is chair and member comments. The main comment I have is just to thank everybody for all their hard work on the work items that we've had this year. And I think that we have some really great opportunities for next year. So really think about what you'd like to work on. And with that, pick the one or two items, because I do feel like they're really going to be pretty time intensive. And we have enough now that we can really divide and conquer and make a big impact. So, and we'll look at that for next meeting. And then I'll turn it over to you for staff comments.
Thank you very much. We have a lot going on for a fall season. It's pretty impressive the amount of items that we have going on throughout our department. First of all, we have our second annual Open Streets event that's coming up on Sunday, September 25th from 1 to 5 p.m. We have over 80 groups participating again this year. And for more information, you can go to our website or Facebook. I mentioned earlier that we started interviews today for the Fred Richards Master Plan. We're very excited to get that project kicked off. And also in our department, we have a new program that started this past weekend. We took over the Edina Boys Flag Football Program, and we have about 290 6th through 12th graders that are participating in this program, along with over 30 volunteer coaches. So it's a very successful program already. So that was fun to kick off last weekend. At Braemar Arena, we have a brand new general manager. He started on August 29th of this year. His name is Chad Eichens, and we would like to bring him to the October meeting, and we will introduce him to you then. He is off and running at the arena already. At the arena also, the skate school started today. We have some very successful skating lesson programs there. The West Arena was shut down for 2 weeks for general maintenance. The base layer is back on. Lines and logos have already been replaced, and the rest of the week will be flooding. We'll be ready to reopen by noon on Friday, and we're very appreciative to the maintenance staff. They've done a really, really nice job in keeping that rink looking in top shape. On October 18th, the futsal court will come out, and the process of making outdoor ice at the Braemar Backyard Rink will begin. October 21st is the date scheduled for the dome reinstallation. I was mentioning to a couple members prior to the meeting, we have very specific weather requirements for the dome to go up. It can't be too windy, it can't be too wet, it can't be too cold. So we do have a backup date, but please keep your fingers crossed for October 21st. We'd really like to make it work for the first dome installation date. Typically, our goal is to have the dome open for the first weekend in November. It takes a few days to put the dome up, and then it takes several days after that to complete the netting, the lighting, the insulation, getting all of the security and fire systems activated. So it's a very significant process for our staff. Braemar is looking to hire staff, concessions, dome supervisors, and rink attendants. So if you know anyone that is looking for a job, please check out the city's website. Braemar is hosting Minnesota Wild captains practice this week. So if you want to see some really good hockey, it's a great opportunity. In the past month, we've had many professional hockey players in the building as they're doing their training with Octagon Hockey. So that's a great thing for Braemar Arena. Switching over to Centennial Lakes, the putting course, lawn bowling, croquet courts, and paddle boats will remain open until October 3rd. Currently open Monday through Friday from 2 to sunset, Saturday from 10 to sunset, and Sunday from noon until sunset. At Braemar Golf Course, we have a lot going on as well, even though this season is slowly winding down. We have our final 4 golf outings set for October 3rd. Those are going to be the last rounds played on the regulation course. So if you're interested in playing in that, check out our website. We have a night glow golf event on October 8th. That's always a very popular event. We have the Chili Open, which is an annual tournament at the golf course on October 16th. And construction is starting on the Braemar Master Plan renovation on October 4th. We will have information to follow on a groundbreaking celebration for that as well, so hopefully Park Board members can attend that. As you know, we've been doing a lot of programming at Braemar Golf Course, and we have several events coming up. We have Wine and Canvas events on September 21st and October 19th. Daddy-Daughter Princess Ball on October 21st. Mommy Son Superhero Saturday on October 22nd. We have some new junior golf programming at the Dome beginning in November. And anyone interested in playing in a beanbag league will be starting an indoor beanbag league in January. So we started it last year. It was very popular. So check out our website for more information on those. A couple more things. At the Art Center, the fall session started Tuesday, September 6th. This last weekend, we had the Edina Fall Into the Arts Festival at Centennial Lakes Park. The weather was great, turnout was great. It was a fantastic event. And at the Art Center, we're preparing for the 32nd annual juried art exhibit, which opens on October 6th from 5 to 8 p.m. And the last item I have is just a reminder for next month's meeting. We're going to be meeting at the Senior Center. So it is because of elections, right, Janet?
Heritage Preservation, I think, is here for their televising.
Okay, so we cannot have this space, so we're going to be at the Senior Center. We will remind you of that as the date gets closer. And that's it.
Say, Ann, I had one thought as you mentioned Braemar. I did want to pass along. I've had lots of comments about the Academy 9. Very positive. Love the course. Love how it looks. The only additional comment I did have, though, was someone said they are seeing a lot of slow play already as well. So there was one group that was trying to figure out where they were going to take their 9-hole group for next year when the main course is closed. And they were having some concerns about feeling comfortable on doing on the Academy 9 just because they said the pace of play seemed to be awful slow at the moment. But loved the course, and everything I've heard about it as far as the quality and the upkeep has been very positive, so that's good news.
That's good feedback. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Anne. So with that, if there aren't any other member comments, I'll move to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.